Richard before make this shot and Richard now?
Oh, that's a good question. He was at a court hearing in London where he did a silent protest. Then he visited a court hearing, and at the moment when he came out, I took the photograph. So he was like, he saw Assange sitting in a glass cave like a criminal, which he isn't, and of course with his own history of being jailed and oppressed by a government. I think he was really touched by this experience, and I had the chance to, right when he came out of the courtroom, to take the portrait of him. So Ai Weiwei is very expressive in his artwork. He has a lot of loud artworks where he just expresses his opinion. It's very political. But when I just talked to him and photographed him, he was actually very calm and very, I mean, it's, I think it's a sign of strength, inner strength, that you can be really calm and strong in your thoughts on the one hand, and make very loud and political artworks on the other hand. That means that you're just very much in balance, and in that way you can really express yourself the best, I think. And
Richard, like photographer, how do you feel in this moment when you shoot this photograph?
how do I feel? I had to be very fast because he had to go to the airport. So this was just 30 seconds and then he was gone. So it's, but I can describe this. It's more about approaching him, and of course I know a bit the person he was. Just it was not that I have a talk with people, like I have a coffee and I talk a bit with them and then I take the photograph. With him it was a bit different. So the experience for me was just that I was very happy that he found time for me and that he agreed to take the photograph. I didn't have like a conversation with him that I could really get to know him a bit better, and so this is really an exception of all the other portraits I took. So, so she was one of the founders of the Courage Foundation, which is a foundation that protects whistleblowers, journalists who are being persecuted by governments or in danger. The T-shirt that she's wearing is one of course, one of the T-shirts that also Julian Assange wore. The Truth T-shirt. I think it's a very powerful shirt that she's wearing. And she is a human rights lawyer, and she did some really amazing work in this field. And I really thought it was fitting because she, as a human rights lawyer, is very courageous as well. And we just walked around a bit, and I always like to have some, if I have the chance to have a nice wall behind someone that expresses a bit or relates a bit to the person. And I found this nice wall that has like many lines and shapes and colors, like gradients. And then I just asked her to not look in the lens, but look a bit next, just have a point in the distance, because she had a T-shirt that says truth on it. So I call this portrait Longing for Truth. Like you want to have truth, it's not there, and you just look for it where is the truth and where can I find it? And it's a very emotional portrait for me because there's just something in her eyes and her expression that just really captures everything I want to say with this whole project. It just captures it really good, and for me it's a very emotional.
The Richard before this shot and the Richard now.
I think from now on I will only do projects that are about resistance, about resist the imbalance that's going on in society right now between governments who want to hide their misconducts and their human rights violations, and on the other hand, people who fight for this, who fight for our human rights and our human values.
Are you scared? You're afraid?
No, I'm not afraid. I'm inspired by the people. Because I think once you become afraid, then you have already lost, right? I'm just inspired and inspired by all the courage of these people. And this just inspires me to do even more in the future. Because of this topic of the project, which is very political, it's very hard to find places who want to exhibit this project because they think the topic is too controversial, or and they don't want to risk maybe to lose an audience because it's too political. I think this is the wrong choice, because it's not a question about if it's a controversial topic. It's a question about where do you stand? How do you see the future of your children? How do you see the world in 20, 30 years? The project originally was started because of the prosecution of Julian Assange. I named it Valid Values because I thought the values of these people are more valid than the values of governments who start wars by lies. And I think this part of the project will be finished when Julian Assange is finally released and can be a free man. And hopefully I can take his portrait, and then this will be finished. But I've decided to, as like a Valid Values as an organization, I will continue this and find after this another topic that is a bit similar and just defends the human values that I think are important. So I think from now on I will just try to choose topics that relate to this. For me, when I take a portrait, I want to have it as much feeling as possible, so quite the opposite. So that's why I think can never be a war photographer in the traditional way. It's more in another way that you fight against war by with a lot of feeling and a lot of personal things that you put into a portrait.